What's up, investors? Justin here. So there has been a lot that has happened over the past week, and a lot of this news has affected the stock market. But one piece of news in particular really hit e-commerce stocks hard on Monday. Amazon stock is down over 8%, Shopify stock is down over 15%, and popular pandemic stocks such as Etsy and Wayfair have both fallen roughly 18%. So in this video, I want to discuss what that news was, and I want to explain why this drop represents a good buying opportunity for these e-commerce stocks. But first, if you are new here, please consider hitting that red subscribe button. I put out videos every week on financial topics, and I would love to do this full time, but it will take time for me to grow this channel. So hit that subscribe button, support the channel, and let's get into the video. So the news that came out over the weekend was that a vaccine for the corona has been developed. And on top of that, the vaccine was found to be 90% effective at preventing the illness, which is honestly great news. Now, if you have been keeping up with the stock market since the pandemic started, you would know that stocks have been kind of categorized into two different buckets. The first are stocks that have benefited from the pandemic, and the second are the stocks that have instead been hit really hard by the pandemic. So we have a weird situation where this positive news about the vaccine actually caused select groups of stocks to plummet. And this is unfortunately what happened to e-commerce stocks on Monday. But like I said in the intro of the video, I don't think it is fair that e-commerce stocks got penalized based on this news. And I've talked a lot about this on the channel in my previous videos, but e-commerce is a growth trend that is here to stay. We have been seeing consumers shift to buying items online long before the pandemic occurred, and we will continue to see this trend play out long after it is gone. Now, the one thing I will concede is that we could simply be seeing a cooling off of sorts among these e-commerce stocks, and this is because the pandemic has boosted e-commerce stocks across the board. But like I said, this is not a trend that is going to go away anytime soon. And this is also a growth story that still has plenty of room left to run. In fact, in 2019, it was estimated that only 16% of total retail sales were made online. So as investors, this is a perfect example of taking advantage of the irrationality of the stock market by buying these e-commerce stocks while they are down. So with that being said, let's get into some of my top e-commerce stocks out there right now. As many of my subscribers know, Shopify is one of my top holdings and makes up a very large percentage of my portfolio. So clearly it is not surprising that Shopify is at the top of my list. Now, one of the biggest criticisms of Shopify stock is that it is too expensive. And I actually won't argue against that criticism, but I will say that it is important to put things in perspective here. If we look at Shopify's Q3 earnings presentation that was posted 2 weeks ago, we can learn some very interesting things about Shopify stock. The first thing is that Shopify is gaining market share incredibly fast. If we look at this slide from Shopify's investor presentation, we can see that in terms of total retail e-commerce sales in 2019, Shopify was second to only Amazon. Now, clearly from this chart, we can see that Amazon is still the dominant e-commerce player, but Shopify is quickly closing that gap. And I have talked a lot about my investment thesis with Shopify stock in my other videos, but the crux of my bullish thesis is that Shopify is the best e-commerce platform out there right now for brands. Shopify allows brands to have complete control over their own websites and complete control over their customers' data, which is completely opposite to the experience brands get while using Amazon. And in a lot of ways, Amazon is actually not incentivized to cater to brands on their platform, which is not to say that Amazon won't continue to grow, but I don't think Amazon will be able to kill off Shopify at this point in the game. I think we will see a future where Amazon and Shopify can peacefully coexist together. But I'm an engineer and I'm a fan of using numbers. So let's crunch some numbers to showcase the opportunity for Shopify stock moving forward. In 2019, Amazon captured 36.99% of US retail e-commerce sales, and Shopify captured 5.89%. If we take Amazon's market cap of $1.5 trillion and divide it by 36.99, we get a number which represents a ratio of market cap to retail e-commerce sales. If we take that ratio number and multiply it by 5.89%, we get $238.8 billion, which represents what the current market cap of Shopify should be compared to Amazon. Now, if I'm being honest, this is not the most accurate comparison. Amazon has many sources of revenue outside of e-commerce, including their Amazon Web Services. Also, the percentages only apply to US retail sales. So I did some more research and found that 62% of Amazon's revenue came from North America in 2019. And this 62% does not include Amazon Web Services revenue. So to get a more accurate comparison, we would first need to multiply Amazon's market cap by 62%. And if we do this and rerun the numbers, Shopify's new calculated market cap comes out to be $148 billion, which Shopify's current market cap is only $107 billion. So we can see that by running these quick calculations that Shopify might not be as expensive as the analysts say. So basically my point here is that Shopify is continuing to grow incredibly fast, and that e-commerce in general is also growing very fast. Now, is Shopify going to jump another 1,000% over the next 2 to 3 years? Probably not. But long-term, Shopify has a good shot at becoming a $1 trillion stock one day, which, if it can do that, would be a 1,000% return from its current market cap. Therefore, I think buying Shopify stock right now is not a bad idea. Now, let's move on and talk about another e-commerce stock that is a little more risky in my opinion, but still could be a huge winner. If we go back to the slide from the Shopify presentation, we can see a company called Wayfair listed in 7th place. And according to this slide, Wayfair captured 1.28% of US retail e-commerce sales in 2019. Now, before I go any further with Wayfair, I should disclose that I am not personally invested in them. Wayfair stock popped up on my radar only a couple of weeks ago, and I felt like the stock had run up a little too much for me to start a position. So now that Wayfair stock has come down a little bit, I may be tempted to jump in. But one of the reasons I think Wayfair represents a good opportunity right now is because of the company's recent profitability. Wayfair sells products that target homeowners and has 4 main categories, which include furniture and decor, housewares, home improvement items, and large appliances. Now, the difficult thing for Wayfair is that these items are usually very large and very hard to ship. Also, if customers want to return them, it will cost a lot of money, which Wayfair either has to absorb or they have to make their customers pay for it, which are both bad outcomes. Because of this, profitability has been quite elusive for Wayfair since the company went public back in 2014. However, things might actually be turning around for Wayfair. In Q2 of this year, Wayfair reported net income of $273.9 million. And this is a big deal because in Q2 of 2019, they posted a loss of $181 million, which is a huge improvement in profitability in just 1 year. Now, the biggest reason for this increased profitability was what Wayfair calls their proprietary logistics network, which they claim has allowed them to efficiently handle surges in orders without incurring big losses. And they claim that this new logistics network is effective at handling order surges for long periods of time and not just a few days or a couple of weeks. Now, on top of that, Wayfair says that they expect to be profitable moving forward as long as they are able to grow revenue by at least 20% year over year. So Wayfair could be an interesting one to add to your portfolio based on its percentage of US e-commerce sales and its relatively small market cap. And if I had to give my bull thesis for the stock, I would say that as the median home price in America rises, which they have over the past decade, that people will spend increasing amounts of money to furnish and improve their homes. So Wayfair might never become a $1 trillion stock, but I think they could potentially become a $50 or even $100 billion market cap stock somewhere in the next 5 years. Now, some other e-commerce stocks that I did not mention, but I think could represent good buys right now include mercadolibre, Etsy, and C-Stock, all of which are e-commerce stocks that I hold in my own high-growth portfolio. So if you guys want me to do a deep dive into any of those e-commerce stocks, I would be more than willing to do so. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.